So you've decided that you're done with using WhatsApp and you've switched over to Signal or to Telegram. So let's talk about what these two apps are about, how they make money, and which one is the best and safest for you. Hey, what up? It's your boy MobbJustice back again with another video. Thank you so much to everyone who's been engaging with the content, especially the WhatsApp video that we did about 2 episodes ago. Really enjoyed engaging people about this issue. But for today, we're going to be talking about Signal and Telegram. But before we get into that, remember, as always, that this video is brought to you by the team at Liyon Media for great video, photography, and audio content. Head on over to www.liyonmedia.com, engage with the team, and let's see what they can do for you. Now, before we actually talk about Signal and Telegram, it's worth taking a minute to maybe look back at what's actually happened with WhatsApp. There have been a couple of developments, and the big one is the fact that they actually came out to say that they have delayed the rollout of these new terms and conditions. You may remember that users had been given until February the 8th to comply or to agree with the new terms, but now because of the public pressure, they decided that they're going to push those dates back. If I remember correctly, it should be until May, but let's see what happens. The other big thing is that WhatsApp actually released a FAQ or frequently asked questions page following the uproar on social media about its new terms and conditions and people saying they were about to leave the platform. And basically, WhatsApp is saying that for the most part, interactions on the platform, chats do not change between people, but rather what changes is how businesses get to interact with people that are interested in their products and their services. The third and final bit of news sort of was a bit weird, but it did happen, and basically it was found that certain private chat groups on WhatsApp were actually being found on Google, and that's actually unsurprising. You'll remember last year I did create a video about Zoom bombing at the time, and one of the things that happens with Zoom bombing is, especially if people post a public link for a meeting or an event or something like that, it's very possible for nefarious characters to get in and decide to do what they do. And in the same way, people that do go out and post a public invite link for certain WhatsApp groups, it's very possible that information will be available on the internet and someone searches for it, because once you put something out there, especially out in the public, then it is in the public domain, and chances are it will appear on Google in one way or another. Upon reflection, one of the things that's really struck me about this entire WhatsApp debacle is just their public relations and communications around the whole issue. They really could have saved themselves a lot of trouble if they had just handled all of this a lot differently. Firstly, why give people something that looks like a choice when it really isn't a choice? We spoke about it in the last video that one of the big issues people had was the fact that they could not opt out of the new terms, that the only button that's there is the agree button. And when you have an agree button, then it means that whatever you're planning to roll out is going to get implemented anyway. And in that respect, one would think a company like Facebook or WhatsApp would have just rather put to say that we've got new terms in their release notes. Apps have release notes for updates all the time, and hardly anyone ever reads those things because these are new features. That's what's there and that's what's being implemented. And if WhatsApp had just done that, hardly anyone would have noticed. Maybe some conversation here and there, but it wouldn't have caused this much of an uproar and things would have gone on. So on those two fronts, one, they should have just put the new terms as part of the release notes. Hardly anyone would have read it. But more importantly, why make it seem as if there's a choice when there isn't really a choice? Now, coming to the main part of this video, Signal and Telegram. It's been very interesting to see how the issue of Signal and Telegram taking over or coming to the fore as people, look down on WhatsApp has really, taken interest in society. I guess it's backed up by some research that actually says that people spend 63% more time in chat apps versus on social media. And that makes sense. It might not seem like it, but just the act of replying a message, being in group chats, all of that stuff, it does consume time. So it makes sense. Communication, connection, it makes sense why people are concerned about their favorite chat apps. And in the last couple of weeks, Signal and Telegram have definitely benefited from the negative publicity around WhatsApp, with Signal actually reaching the top of the social charts, and Telegram, close second, millions of downloads for both apps. So what makes these two apps so attractive to people that are looking for a safe and private chatting experience? Well, it's two main things. The first one is data collection. I'm going to put up a chart that just shows, some of the data that is being collected by the different, messaging platforms out there. And as it stands, Telegram and Signal actually collect the least amount of data, and especially data that's identifiable to specific individuals. The second issue is the fact that cybersecurity experts actually say that Telegram and Signal are more secure because they use open APIs or open source coding and platforms. And what that basically means, it's like Firefox, Mozilla Firefox. That's an open source, and it means that anyone has access to that code. This is different from iMessage and WhatsApp, which are proprietary, which means WhatsApp and Apple in those cases, right, have written their own code. It's secret. They know how it works. No one else can get into it. And people say that open source platforms are more secure because it's open to the public. You have developers around the world that work to make sure that the platform is secure, and at the same time you don't have a back door that a company like an Apple or WhatsApp could insert that would give them private access or give them that access that people are so afraid of if the worst comes to the worst. In terms of the actual messaging experience itself, anyone who's used a WhatsApp will be very comfortable in using Signal or Telegram. They're both available on iOS together with Android, and at the same time they both offer desktop clients. I think for today I'm just going to show what they look like on Android. You can just see here that I have a lot of chat apps. That's just one of those things about being a geek. But basically I'll start with Signal. If you open it, you just see that I've got a couple of people that are using it. Only one person has messaged me in the last couple of weeks, but you can already see with this verify your Signal pin thing that's at the bottom that they are taking things seriously. Some notable things, if you go into a chat, it just looks like the normal things, but basically we can go into these are the settings. And what's important here is if you go under privacy and you see some of the things that they list there, ways in which that they are making the app secure. And then if you just go out and you go here, you see that the new groups and all of that stuff, very similar to what we see on WhatsApp. And then the rest of the settings are pretty much standard. And then if we switch on over to Telegram, you can see here one of the most interesting things that I've personally noted is how many people have gotten onto Telegram versus people getting onto Signal, at least in my circles. And you can see from here, these little ones basically show you that someone has just gotten onto Telegram, and I've had so many people. You can contrast that with that small list of people that were on my Signals contacts page. And if you go into a chat, it's pretty much the same as what you see on WhatsApp. I'll open this message that came in from Telegram itself, because they actually gained and surpassed 500 million users, having gained 25 million new users in 72 hours. That was actually quite a feat, and it's off the back of what's going on with this WhatsApp issue. And then you go into, you know, the menu here, off to the settings, and you'll see a similar setup. You go to their privacy and security, they've got it set up a bit differently, yeah, but that's what you have over on Telegram. Now that we've seen what Signal and Telegram actually look like, we can get into some of the nitty-gritties. Starting off with Signal, very interesting story behind its founding, because it was actually started by one of the co-founders of WhatsApp. In fact, you will remember from the last episode I said that one of the co-founders had left. Well, this is the other co-founder who also left the company and actually started this using a $50 million grant that he put into the Signal, I think it's called the Signal Foundation, and that basically funds the operation as is. Over its lifetime, the app is said to have received about 63 million downloads or so, and has proven to be popular with journalists and activists over the years because of its security. There are parts of the world where governments want to know what people are saying. There's spying, Big Brother states, all of these things, especially countries that have some type of political unrest, and also, you know, for those professions where anonymity and privacy is very important, like some of the stories that journalists work on, you need to have secure platforms. So you've seen that Signal has actually been very popular, receiving endorsements, in fact, from people like Elon Musk, and more than anyone else, Edward Snowden, you know, and he would be one to actually know and understand some of these implications. Now, when it comes to the practical use and application of Signal, I think there are two things that people really need to take note of. The first one is the fact that Signal does not have cloud synchronization. I mentioned earlier on that both apps, Telegram, Signal, they all offer desktop apps, just as what you see with WhatsApp, and you also see the same with iMessage, where you can continue typing your conversation on a computer. What's different here is the fact that with Telegram, you can, you know, switch to another device like your computer and continue texting from where you left off. But with Signal, because the messages are stored on the actual device because of end-to-end encryption, then it means that if you switch over to another device like a desktop app, then it means your chats will not be there. You'll be sort of texting afresh in a way. Yes, on your phone the messages are still there, but on another device, since they're not locally stored, you don't have that ability. The other thing is that as much as it's providing anonymity and security, there is still one major identifier, and that's the fact that across WhatsApp, Telegram, and Signal, the way you register for each of the platforms is through a phone number. And in a lot of countries, there are registration processes. Right now, I'm in South Africa, where there's a process called RICA, where you register a SIM card against an identity document. So if a person gets your phone number, it's quite possible that they might be able to find, you know, who you are and possibly where you stay as well. So that's just something to think about when, you know, you think about the security and privacy of these platforms. Switching over to Telegram, it was actually founded by two founders that actually founded Russia's biggest social network. I think it's called VK. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. I just know it as VK. And one of the brothers is actually the person who actually funds Telegram. But what's different about it is that it's from my understanding registered as a private business, as opposed to Signal, which is registered as a non-profit. So the thinking is that Telegram at some point may try, you know, despite the fact that the founder has said that they wouldn't take profits and all of these things, there is still that thinking that somewhere down the line they may try to monetize the platform in one way or another. Perhaps it would just be a simple, $1 fee for the use for the year or something like that, but that's still something in the realm of possibility. Now, as you saw when I opened Telegram on my phone earlier on, a lot of people are on Telegram, very popular. You saw the number of downloads that they say they received within a space of days, and over time it's actually proved to be the more popular of the two between Telegram and Signal, because right now Telegram has over half a billion users out there. Contrast that to WhatsApp's 2 billion. They still have a long way to go, but they're certainly in the running. And Telegram has actually been very popular, just as the point we made with Signal, in certain countries where you have governments that will shut off the internet or ban access to WhatsApp specifically because of how widespread it is, and then you'll see people in the population switching over to Telegram, to continue communicating with each other. And also Telegram, it seems, was actually quite popular when it came to organizing the Black Lives Matter movement, because of that ability to sort of stay off the radar. But it also has one feature which I haven't seen on WhatsApp, Telegram and iMessage, and it's the fact that you can have 200,000 people in a group message. Imagine 200,000 people. In conclusion, the two apps do offer a higher level of privacy than what we've seen on WhatsApp. But I think it's quite clear that Signal is the more secure / more private platform. It even goes so far as to offer a feature where you can block people from taking screenshots of a chat, and also at the same time offering an incognito keyboard feature. And basically what that is when you're typing, there's usually those suggestions, and basically the AI or the algorithms will be learning how you type or what words you say after what words, and you can switch that off because some people use keystrokes as a way to track an individual, and Signal has that feature. That said, I would say the onus still remains on users, consumers, people that are interacting on these platforms. Go out, learn what the app does, learn its settings, and just find the one that is most comfortable for you. I think I've already mentioned the fact that phone numbers, for example, are still a vulnerability that's found across all of these platforms. At the same time, go out and look at the settings. I remember doing a video last year about location settings, for example. Go and check what type of location settings you have inside some of these apps. Telegram, for example, actually has a feature where you can switch on your location and actually see other people that are using Telegram in an area around you, and that might be a vulnerability if it's something that you switch on. So it's little things like that that will keep you safe. At the same time, just make sure that you also exploit some of the features like disappearing messages. If it's really confidential, you really want to make sure, maybe set yourself a disappearing message. That's one of the features found on the two apps, including WhatsApp. Perhaps on a final point, it would be remiss of us to not speak about the danger that comes in using encrypted services. Safe and private as they may be, for every good thing, someone is out there crafting some way to use it in a nefarious way. And people have actually, said that and raised that concern to say that platforms like a Signal, Telegram, etc., because they can't see the messages, people could use those to perpetrate crimes, to organize, an attack, violent protests, that type of thing, because no one knows what's actually being said. And at the moment, because of the ban that we've seen the major social media companies making against President Donald Trump in the last couple of weeks, the major platforms, banning him from there, you have certain people now saying to themselves they wouldn't want to have such censorship on themselves, and may turn to some of these apps to continue having whatever conversations that they're having and doing what they do there. So there is that inherent danger. On the whole, privacy, very important. Go out, educate yourself, as I said. Keen to hear if you are one of the people that's decided to leave WhatsApp. You can let us know in the comments. And if you have left WhatsApp, what's been your preferred choice? Has it been Telegram or has it been Signal, or perhaps both? As I said in the last video, I really do think we'll likely get to a stage where, as these concerns continue, people might not completely do away with WhatsApp. We'll likely see a situation where you might see me, I had so many apps on my phone, as you saw, and we might see some of those situations increasing. Perhaps not to have 10, but to have maybe 2 or 3, where you see a person operating on WhatsApp, Signal, and Telegram. That, as far as I can see, that's likely to be the push. On the one hand, you stay secure, but on the other hand, you still keep in touch with all the people that haven't chosen to leave the other platforms. Let us know what you think. Very interesting topic. I'm keen to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, I will catch you guys in the next video.
This is Muffs Too Much, and you're watching MobbJustice TV. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. We're there on YouTube. Thank you for watching our video. Subscribe.